let me just remind people, Carla is supposed to do the written evaluation and Brianna is supposed to do the oral evaluation.
The conflict of public versus private has long been around since the Bill of Rights was created. The Fourth Amendment was written to protect the people from unwarranted searches and seizures. But since those times, technology has changed, and we can no longer have the privacy that we once had. Terrorists and criminals have that new technology also, and use it to put the American people at risk. The only way to stop it is to have access to their communications and the ability to track them with cameras. The government needs more freedom in collecting information so that they can successfully keep the public safe. Today I'm going to tell you about legislation that helps our government catch criminals, and about the country of England and how they have a plan that actually works. Legislation has gone a long way with allowing the government to monitor communication. The first of which was the 1978 Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act. This law was the first one to allow phone tapping, but it required a warrant to do so. Now this was great if you wanted to track a terrorist that you already knew was there, but it didn't really allow you to find somebody else because you had to have sufficient evidence before you could search for someone. This severely limited what the government could do to search for the unknown terrorists. Better legislation came with the Patriot Act, which allows government access to communication. Under this law, computers monitor items such as emails and phone calls searching for certain keywords. If a computer finds one of these keywords, it alerts the government, and an official can look into it, seeing if the information is enough to warrant getting a warrant, and whether it should be searched further and investigated further. Now, some Americans feel that this is a breach of their privacy, but the goal of government is not to know what everyone is doing, but to be able to expose terrorists and protect the people, because terrorists enjoy the same privacy that we do today. One example of increased government involvement is shown in England. According to Peter Fry of CCTV User Guide, London has over 1.5 million cameras around the city, and these are only public cameras. This doesn't include any private ones. These cameras are all equipped with the facial recognition software, and this allows them to both catch criminals as well as prevent crime. According to the Metropolitan Police report, robberies went down 19.3% and gun crimes down 24.8% in just 1 year following the installment of the cameras. Also, these cameras have been used successfully to catch the criminals. One day when I was on summer vacation in England, I had just gone to the Tower of London. I was waiting to get on the subway with my family. All of a sudden, alarms go off, police rush the station, and we're told that we have to exit, we have to get out of there, and that the subway is going to be closed. We try to ask for more information, what's going on, but all they'll tell us is that we can't use the subway now and we have to wait till later. We take a bus ride back to the house we were staying at, turn on the news, and find out that a terrorist had just tried to explode a nail bomb on the subway that we were about to get on. About 15 minutes earlier, about 2 stations down, this had happened, but the bomb hadn't gone off correctly and just smoked, and the guy had got away. By using the cameras and software that they had, they were able to track the terrorist and find out that during that day, he had talked to about 6 people total, 5 other people that were with him, and within 6 days, the police raided the 2 houses that they were at and captured all 6 people involved before they could either get out of the country or plant another bomb. Having less privacy can greatly help the government because it keeps people safe by catching criminals, and having too many privacy laws can sometimes be detrimental. A story of Mary Michael's experience is a good example. While visiting a cemetery, Mary's car was stolen, along with her cell phone and dog inside. She called the police, reported it, but they told her although they were trying to search, they couldn't guarantee that the car would be found very soon because it's hard to track. Then she had a great idea. Her cell phone in the car had GPS. The police could use it, track the car, find it, and her dog and car would be safe. But the police could not use the GPS to search because they require that it be known that it is her phone, and they didn't have sufficient evidence. So she went to the Verizon store. She came with all the information needed, proved it was her account, proved it was her phone, and asked them if they could track it. However, they said that they needed a warrant in order to do that. So she took all her information, she went to the police, she tried to get a warrant, but by the time they could get a warrant the next day, the car had already been found. Sadly, it was too late for the dog, who had died of heat exhaustion because the car was left abandoned on the side of the road. The dog had died, and the thief had gotten away. The controversy over privacy is one that is at the front of policymaking today. As a threat of terrorism looms, privacy must be given up to provide safety and security to the American people. The government can't do this without the ability to monitor communication and have cameras catch terrorists and stop them before they strike. In order for the government to protect its people, it must be able to search among its citizens for those who wish harm upon this country. Privacy only creates a veil behind which criminals are hidden from the law and safe to carry out their evil intentions.
Brianna, what did you think?
I thought his speech was well. He started off, introducing it, and he previewed his topic. I liked the suggestion of how other countries have protection that they can tap into their security, and that we should be more like them. So he had well-cited stuff. Good presentation.
Okay. Well, the subject's introduced in an adequate way, and the point of view that you have is very clearly stated, and you have a good preview of what the contents is going to be. I think your internal signposting could be a little bit stronger, but it's actually pretty well organized, and at the end of the speech there's an okay summary. Content-wise, you had some good examples to illustrate the points that you're talking about. You've got personal experience in one example, you've got a dramatic experience at the other. I would assume anybody who's an animal lover would be, pulling their hair out at the fact that, the poor dog died in the car because they just couldn't get to it fast enough, and that would just be, one of those good emotional pulls on that. The effectiveness of the cameras in London, I think, is an interesting one. You've got some statistics on criminal activity. You're sometimes balancing between the question of whether or not we have too many limitations on access to this information by law enforcement agencies, or, for instance, whether or not we need the cameras. It seems like they're almost two separate ideas. I thought that the one with the limitations on accessing this information was a little bit better developed. That's what that last example illustrates, and that it worked pretty effectively. The presentation, there's good variety in your voice. You have solid audience contact, but it's not always consistent. And like I said, I like the visualizations that you came up with. I thought they worked well at selling the idea that you have. All right. Thank you.